right, round one, board 7, the Chicago Riverwalk. We've got a couple players that are well known to people that have been watching this stream. I guess, Brandon, anybody stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few people here. The big name here is Tommy Anderson, a newly minted big name. This is a guy who, up until a month ago, was considered a softie and somebody who didn't have the guts to go for it. And he went for it and he won Liberty. And now he's third in the DBN Invitational rankings. And he's the big fish on this board. You also have Hunter Katcher, who has become a big fish of his own. Last year, he won several tournaments, including the European DipCon. And he's definitely capable of being a top 10 ranked player. John Jamieson, he oscillates between being the worst player ever and one of the best players on the tour. I suspect that we will see the latter tonight, one of the better players. Those are the players I know. Do you guys have any comments on anyone else?
I do not.
That's the same ones I would have picked out.
All right, and I mean, clearly, Douglas and Richard. I know I've seen Richard on the stream. Doug, we've seen before. So good to see them back. And Calvin, I guess, has played a game with us also. So good to see some newer faces. And Ben Smith looks like this may be his first game also. So we'll go ahead and start. We will just run through from top to bottom. Brandon, we'll have you go first, then Adam, then Chris, and then I'll go.
Right.
All right. So spring 1901, Brandon.
All right. We have a lot of standard stuff. Venice to Trieste stands out as something, but it's followed up with Rome to Apulia, not Rome to Venice. So that could be a precursor to a strong AI. The West is very copacetic all around. England especially gets away with not opening Liverpool to York. He's in Edinburgh, which gives him some tactical flexibility, but also left Wales open if France had opened to the English Channel, which he does not. Otherwise, Germany has nobody surrounding Munich, which is really nice for him.
All right. And in the fall, Adam.
Okay, so the French look like they're supporting the English into Belgium, and they don't go there. The English instead opt to convoy to Norway and go up to Barents. Very aggressive, anti-Russian opening, coupled with Russia taking Sweden and Romania. So I think we'll probably see something anti-English in St. Petersburg come the winter. France takes their 2 dots. They opt to take Portugal with the fleet, so not being provocative to Italy. Italy convoys to Tunis, setting up the whole Lepanto thing while holding in Trieste. And Russia takes Galicia. And nobody's in the Black Sea. So pretty interesting stuff. I think what's unusual certainly is the English going up to so strongly anti-Russia without a commitment from Germany to bounce Sweden, or maybe there was a commitment to bounce Sweden and it didn't happen.
Yeah. I think it's also worth noting we've got the Italian in Trieste, and they also convoyed to Tunis. So it'll be interesting to see when we've seen this recently. That's been a precursor to a Iberian play, but with the potential RT that could be changing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. With our builds, we've got Fleet Eddy, Fleet Brest, Paris. We got Fleet Kiel, 2 armies from Germany. We've got an army in Venice, fleet in Naples, fleet in St. Pete, Fleet Sev, and Fleet Smyrna. Army Vienna. So anything stand out to anybody?
I would just, maybe pose the question, is Fleet North Coast the right build here, or is an army stronger? Because that fleet really has nowhere to go, right?
I mean, I think if I were John Jamieson, I would think that I was looking at a Western triple right here. And I would have... I probably would have done something that would hopefully try to break them up. So maybe that's his thought, that if he builds Fleet North Coast St. Pete, then he might be able to get Germany to work with him. Just a guess. But Fleet Brest is not Western Tripoli. So Everything else is definitely Western Tripoli.
All right. Chris, why don't you talk us through 1902, spring of 1902?
So I guess that's an English overreaction to the French build in Brest, because Barents comes back to Norwegian, then allowing Russia to take Norway, which is a bit unfortunate for England for sure. The English fleet in Skagerrak as well, and a bounce in the North Sea. So a lot of play in the West. France, on the other hand, that looks more Western Tripoli, shuffling the fleets down towards the south.
Yeah.
And Russia, this is not an RT anymore, that's for sure. Sevastopol down to Armenia. Romania back to Sevastopol rather than to the Black Sea is odd in that situation.
He wanted to get the army into Rum, so
you want to guarantee getting the army into Rum, so yeah, that makes sense. Worried about Ankara to back. Yep.
Yeah, but why would you? But if you're going anti-Turkey, why? I mean, why would you care?
Good question.
I think you'd rather go to the Black.
Yeah. That's probably it. It probably would have been better to go to the Black, even if it does bounce.
Yeah.
And then the Italian pushing up into Eastern Med, but fails to follow up the Ionian, because the Austrian pushes into Ionian and tries to take Trieste, but is foiled by Turkey. So it's a real mess to the east, basically.
It's a mess. Wow.
Love it. All right. I'll take fall of 1902. Continuing on with the fun between Austria and Italy. Looks like Austria does force Trieste. Italy retreats back to Tyrolia. We've got just madness going on in Turkey. Turkey is now in black, so I'm sure John Jamieson's second guessing that decision. Italy supports Russia into Smyrna. We've got a lot of defensive plays by Turkey. Looks like John's pulling the Russian unit up to Moscow to defend against Finland. And we've got, they're going to hang on. It looks like they're going to hang on to Norway. So that will be a big change there, but they lose St. Pete. We've got Germany in North Sea. That's huge. Always love to be in North Sea as Germany. And we've got France moving into Irish and Mid-Atlantic and Brest. So I would not want to be England right now. Moving on to our builds, we've got a Russian build of an army in Warsaw. Austria builds an army in Budapest. And we've got Turkey disbanding in black. And Italy disbands in Tunis. Anything stand out?
No, I think I noticed on the last turn, it was interesting to see that the Italians supported the Russians into Smyrna, when Smyrna is usually the logical piece of Turkey for Italy to get. And also, it was unlikely that either of those was going to get cut, but if one of them was going to get cut, it was more likely to the east anyway. So interesting that was kind of finagled by John. Probably good diplomacy there.
Yeah, I think John's, his positioning is weird, but it's got a lot of long-term potential. So I actually kind of like how he's played that. But yeah. it depends on his relationship with Germany and Austria going forward.
And I think it's helped too by France moving towards England. He'll have a very solid position up north. So, all right, Brandon, let you take 1903.
All right. Things actually turn a little bit sour for John here, mostly because he loses the Northern Fleet. That fleet, and he worked hard to get that fleet up there, and to say goodbye to it is just really not what you want to have happen. And it's at Germany's behest. Germany taps Sweden, which allows St. Petersburg to come back and retake Norway, and Norway has no way to retreat. Let's see, elsewhere on the board, we have France convoying into Liverpool and getting seemingly insurmountable position And England is now England has made a choice to punish Russia, it seems, and to allow his home centers to be taken by Germany and France. And elsewhere, we have Italy and Austria playing some sort of game, but potentially working together against Turkey here. Yeah, it remains to be seen. It looks like Austria will have purchase over Venice. There'll be some guessing happening there. But
yeah, but the Italians in Bohemia as well.
Exactly. So. Yeah. So messy East. Long term, France and Germany are in great position, and I think the question is which one is in better position, and it's hard not to like France right here because they're picking up a dot and they've got nobody attacking them. So,
but on the flip side, with England is not going to be long for the world. I think Russia will have some potential to go back into Scandinavia. I think Germany is going to be the big deciding factor of who does better between those two. All right, moving on, we've got Adam. Take us through fall of 1903.
Yeah, so France is satisfied with Liverpool, or maybe figures he can take Edinburgh for free next year, so sends the fleet south. So really a lot of commitment to the FG right here. In fact, we even see Germany moving out of Belgium with a French unit right next to it. So clearly a lot of trust being built right there. The Italians and the Austrians do exactly the sort of shenanigans that Brandon started to describe last turn. This is hugely productive in that they each take one of each other's home centers and net zero. So I mean, I guess if it works, it works. But meanwhile, another not so great turn for John in Russia as the Turks take. Well, I guess it really doesn't matter because the Turks take Smyrna back and he retreats there.
This is an improvement. His position is so much better.
Yeah. This is a much better position. So this is not a problem.
And he gets a rebuild. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're right, and it's hard to understand what possessed. Well, I guess it's what possessed Turkey to do this instead of just bouncing Ankara, because he's relying pretty heavily on Austrian help here. And
where's the Russian going to retreat to? I mean,
right, yeah. So pretty strange. So Russia doesn't end up too much worse for the wear. They hold St. Petersburg, so they'll build something from the rebuild.
Turkey goes up a dot here. He just doesn't have a home center open to build.
Austria decided not to move Serbia to Bulgaria as well, knowing that they were supporting the Turk out that way. I don't know why you wouldn't follow up to Bulgaria.
Yeah, I want to say also, I think France has made a mistake by moving into the Med here. I think if I were France, I would have either moved on Germany or taken Edinburgh and followed up with Liverpool. I think
I would have taken Edinburgh and Liverpool because why leave Edinburgh English? I don't see any advantage.
Yeah. Yep. And you want to leave your units in the north in order to make a move on Germany, because Germany's your competitor right now. Maybe Russia more distantly, but you want to leave Italy and Austria fighting each other. That benefits you.
I think playing a longer term FG is okay in this position. I mean, there may be some built up trust from the first few turns of the game, and you've managed to demilitarize some of the middle areas. So I don't completely disagree with what they're doing here, just to kind of play the counterpoint.
All right, well, let's see how that works out. Chris, take us through, I'm sorry, I skipped over builds. We've got a fleet in Brest, an army in Kiel, England disbands Norwegian and Barents. John builds an army in Sèvres, and I think that's everything. German army in Kiel. Chris, take us through spring of 1904.
Yeah, I was wondering what that German army was doing, and there's the answer. It's going after Russia. So this is a pretty serious commitment from Germany against Russia. Even the convoy from London to Norway, with and supporting the English fleet from Norway into Sweden, that's pretty cool. Actually, I like that.
Yeah, but even
And-
more reason for France to hit Germany here. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. If
Yeah.
not last turn, then this turn or next turn. It's a great opportunity for France for sure. Interesting that John doesn't retreat Sweden. He pulls it.
Hmm.
I think we said on one of the earlier games, I don't like pulling that northern fleet. If I can keep that, I want to keep that around as long as I can. What else have we got? France is making a serious commitment to pushing those fleets down into the Mediterranean. It looks like there's an army going that way as well, Gascony to Marseille. And Italy's coming the other way. Italy, I guess, saw the fleet down in Western Med and said, I'm not going to let you walk into Tunis. Unfortunately, that means giving up any possibility of any Turkish dots now. And Turkey and Italy continue to fight, though. A bounce in Trieste, Austria covering Budapest, and the army down in Apulia. Yeah, Italy's got some problems with France. I mean, Italy could deal with Austria alone, but dealing with Austria and France, that's not going to be easy. And really, it's not in Austria's interest to let Italy die now. There should be some serious attempts to fix this and work together now. They've got bigger problems.
Does this look like a game that's going to go on at least until 1916?
It really doesn't.
Does it?
I'm wondering, are they just going to all back off and undo everything again or something? I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look like Turkey's going to be around much longer.
Maybe Turkey.
I don't know, Chris. I don't know about that.
Turkey's going to get a build, yeah?
I could see Turkey's going to build.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe they have to keep Smyrna clear and hold on to both Khan and Ankh here.
But Eastern Med pulled out. Oh, they got a guess. But
They got Russian units all over them.
No,
There's
actually,
a lot of Russian units there.
They should lose something. Yeah.
All right. So Turkey does get
What? How did Russia screw this up?
Tried to convoy, which is a waste of a unit. It's a waste of a unit.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
What a con. I wonder if that's a case of just being too clever.
Yeah, no, there's really no reason. In fact, I think you just tap Armenia and support Black to Khan.
Or the other way, you tap Khan and support yourself back to Armenia and Khan, whatever.
Yeah.
You got your choices on how you do it, but
yeah.
Oh, well done, Ben Smith, on getting a build and
yeah.
See what the result of that is.
Well, it's more badly done, John, rather than well done.
Austria taking back Vienna and covering Venice. Looks like we've got France taking Tunis, Italy taking the forward retreat. It'll be interesting to see which units Italy decides to keep. We've got, this is interesting, France moving into Yorkshire. I would assume at this point that may be negotiated.
why were you in Wales in the first place instead of just being in Yorkshire to begin with, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
take Edinburgh. Yep.
That's going for Edinburgh for sure. But yeah, why was it in Wales is a very good question.
I mean, you just go to Edinburgh.
Yeah. Okay, let's move forward.
Germany.
I'm excited to see how this game just continues to rebalance because it looks like an FG is just going to roll this right now.
Somebody's making a move.
All right, let's find out.
So for our builds, Germany builds 2 armies, Kiel and Berlin. Ben gets his build in Turkey for Smyrna. Italy disbands West and Galicia, and France builds Army Marseille.
And now it should be Germany's game from my perspective.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And Germany's Hunter. How does Hunter not say? Okay, let's go.
All right, Brandon, take us through 1905.
All right, Hunter optimistically tries to convoy York to Belgium. Why would that even be optimistic? That's very confusing. Can you show us that convoy just so we see exactly what it is? York to Belgium. Maybe he's hoping that the unit would pass through. I don't know, but he supports the English into St. Petersburg. This looks like some too clever by half play by Hunter here. it looks like he's trying to play a super long game, and it's going to benefit France more than him, at least in the short or intermediate term.
Well, we know he achieved the super long game.
Very good. All right, in the south we have Italy taking Ionian, retaking it from the Austrian with French help, and we had an Austrian fleet build that we went a little bit less remarked upon. Probably, yeah, you probably wanted an army there.
Yeah.
And then John Jamieson gets Khan finally, possibly to pass through. That would not surprise me if that passes through.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's arranged.
But John's got to do something for himself at some point, so he's going to go down another dot here, and it looks like right now he's setting up for a stalemate line against Germany in 1905, not realizing that there are at least 10 more years to go.
I mean, to be fair, the Black Sea to Con might have been arranged anticipating it'll move out, but there's no guarantee that it does move out in the fall.
Yeah, true.
All right. Adam, it's fall of 1905.
Well, there's your answer on Khan.
Yeah. I've played John a few times.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it doesn't look great for John. This is another situation where we've got Russia trying to become Turkey, a little less successful than some of the others we've seen this evening, but this may not be a long game for John, which, he might be the real winner here because it's 2 a.m. Central Time and the game's still going. So, all right, so let's see what else happened. There's about
Go back.
We got a bounce in the English Channel. France finally takes Edinburgh. And yeah, the Austrians are coming up and lose Venice to France. Is that with Italian help? I can't tell what was.
Yeah, it has to be because it was supported from Adriatic.
Yeah, so good position for France.
You've got 3 players down to 2 centers already. How does this game go on so long?
Yeah. And well done, Hunter, by the way, for getting Moscow out of that. By the way.
Yeah. So we've got Army Brest and Fleet Marseille. John disbands the army the fleet in Caen. We've got Ben disbanding the army in Smyrna. Yeah, that's it. So Chris, why don't you talk to us spring 1906?
Okay, so John is realizing that he probably should try and defend some home centers and pulling everything back to do so, basically. Ankh to Armenia is interesting. That may well be to help John. I love the Turkish moves here. Yeah, I've got 2 home centers, so I'm going to send Ankh to Armenia and Eastern Med to Ionia. I need my units in opposite directions and as far away from my home centers as I can get them.
Oh, that's delightful. It's really delightful. Turkey's going to top this board.
Could happen.
Hey, you would have played a long game as Turkey, right? The 2 Austrian fleets help the Turkish fleet to the west. It looks like we've got a pretty good agreement between the Eastern powers now that they really kind of need to do something about this, France and Germany. That's the way I would read this. And look at Germany. Germany's down in Galicia.
Yeah.
They lose Moscow, which is unfortunate, but there was...
and it's piffed. Yeah.
Yeah, and they lose it because England decided to go for Norway.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And France got into Picardy and Burgundy.
Yeah. So Germany shifted everything down to the southeast and then has got some problems behind them and is probably wishing they didn't move so many units that way.
Yep.
All right. Well, in the fall, we've got Austria moving into Bulgaria, Romania moving into Galicia. Looks like, it's interesting. We've got France shifting into English Channel Mid-Atlantic. We've got France moving into Belgium. Looks like there may be a little trouble between the FG. We've got North moving into Norway, piffing England disbanded the fleet. And what happened in Hunter successfully got the fleet into St. Pete's south coast. Hunter holds Warsaw and Venice, yeah. So Italy moves back into Venice, and France retreats back to Piedmont.
So Italy doesn't get a build. Turkey does.
Yeah. Wow.
Also, Germany is even up 2, down 2, but is going to be putting 2 units down, 2 rebuilds.
And Russia's even as well, right? Up 1, down 1.
What did they go down? Oh, Bulgaria. Yeah. But Austria can't even use it. Yeah.
Mm.
And do we recognize at this point England the true winner of this game, who gets to
Totally.
All right.
I think so.
For our builds, 2 German fleets, one Kiel, and army in Smyrna. Who wants to talk about the double fleet build?
That's a statement. I kind of wonder if you need another army at this point, but I certainly one fleet made sense, but it certainly sends a statement. We'll see if it's the right statement.
Yeah. I actually really like it. I think I wonder if his game would collapse completely, because right now France needs a counterbalance, and he is the only one capable of providing it. So this tells the rest of the board that he wants to do that. Yeah. And it's basically a dare for them to let him do it. Mm-hmm. I suspect they do, because the game is not even half over.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, he can throw all 4 fleets against France, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And provided Russia is willing to leave Warsaw alone, he can just go for it and say, okay, I'm going to go deal with France. You guys just let me do it. And
Russia should. He's got a build in the bank, but he doesn't he? No, he doesn't. Never mind. Okay.
All right. So Brandon, I think it's your turn.
All right. My eye is drawn to Turkey, first of all, just because the build came in, and I'm curious to see what he does with it. Clearly has a purchase on Khan if he wants it, but is going to need some help to hold on to Naples. And so far he's getting it, because France didn't try to take it. But Italy has now got 2 units down there to try to take it, and but has to contend with Austria, who wanted Venice. Just lots of really messy stuff over there. You've got 4 different countries. It's a little kaleidoscope of colors all around the boot. And I'll be curious to see how that works out. Elsewhere, Russia takes Warsaw, France takes Munich, and Holland does not get into Norway, but will also take London. However, the German fleets do start making their way west. So the question is, will Russia allow Germany to do it? Or will Germany start pulling lots and lots of units off the board?
Well, Adam, take us through 1907. Let's answer that question.
Yep. So it looks like there's a little bit of yes, a little bit of no on that, right? It looks like the Russians do hold on to Warsaw, as they probably should. But they don't otherwise interfere, and Austria similarly doesn't interfere with the play there. In fact, it looks like Russia is for some reason taking a pot shot at Budapest with 1 and doing something. Is that supporting Germany into Vienna with Galicia?
Looks like it.
Which was unordered. It's actually sort of surprising. If you really wanted to stab Austria, why not just support yourself to Budapest?
Italy's getting a build.
Italy is getting a build from Naples.
Turkey's getting a rebuild.
Turkey is going to take Greece. So apparently Russia and Turkey had this agreement to do something about the Austrian. Really interesting. I mean, it looks like France ends up +1 on Germany, and Germany's -1 or -2.
Right? Munich and London.
Munich and London is +2.
And Warsaw.
And so Germany is down 3, but down 3, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, rough turn.
All right, and there they are. We're disbanding North, Helgoland, and Holland, so that's a statement.
Yeah, that's very much a. Well, John, I said I'd be a counterbalance to France. You don't want me to do that? Okay, I won't do it then.
How does France not only top this board but potentially solo?
Well,
Yeah,
maybe that's why we're in 1916 and going. Maybe France is trying to grind it out, right?
yeah.
This might be a grinding situation. We'll see where it goes, but it
Yeah.
could certainly be that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, France builds in Fleet Brest, Army Paris. We've got Italy building Army Venice for a very hard-fought build. We've got Turkey with another hard-fought build in Smyrna, Fleet Smyrna, and Army Sev in Russia. So we'll go ahead and have Chris take 1908.
I just like to say, isn't it awesome when you're down to 2 centers and then you manage to recapture your home center and you get to rebuild and you're back up to where you started? Yeah. It's such a great feeling, man, and
it really is.
Very hard to do. So many times you go down to 2 and that's it; it's all over basically. So, I like the attempted convoy from Naples to Albania, even if it didn't go. It's a good effort there. Let's see, what do we got? So. Germany continues to fight France, and doesn't now fight Russia. Although it looks like they had a bit of difficulty making up their mind, because that looks like Livonia is supporting Silesia to Warsaw, but Silesia actually went to Munich.
Yep.
And yeah, France still seems to be gunning for Germany. The move to North Sea and the move to Ruhr and the bounce in Holland would say that this battle is still going on, and your money's got to still be on France at this point, because Germany's units are just not in the right place to defend. They've got enough units to defend, but they're not where they need to be.
Yep. Yeah, if he had kept those 2 fleets and disbanded, say, Livonia and Bothnia, much better.
Yeah. Well, on that note, Brandon, why don't you talk to us about 1908?
All right. We see France with a potentially catastrophic misorder. The convoy, he tries to convoy from London to Holland via the English Channel, which is not possible. It could be worse, because the dot that he loses to Germany cannot be used for a build, because Germany's home centers are all occupied. So if Germany had taken a chance and moved to Helgoland here, which it would have been the smarter thing, if he simply wanted to protect Denmark, then he would have had a build here. But France loses one, has a unit piffed in Tyrolia, so that's it. Doesn't have a rebuild. Still has great position over Germany, although a little bit less great than it was before. So the question is, can Germany get the fleet into Helgoland and the army into Berlin and somehow keep Holland, while also getting help from the Eastern powers? Elsewhere, the convoy from Naples to Albania goes this time. So Italy is janissarying for France. I suspect that will change unless this really does become France grinding out a solo. But that actually feels a little bit less likely now. We're seeing Russia picking up Budapest, losing Khan, so isn't going to build here. Turkey picks up another dot and builds a 4th unit.
All right. What do they do with the build? We've got maybe you're right about the Russian board top at the end, or the Turkish board top at the end of this.
Turkish solo, I think.
Another fleet, Smyrna.
It would be spectacular.
And then we've got a disband in Bulgaria from Austria. All right, moving on. Adam, take us through spring of 1909.
Yep. We continue to see some we see some fighting in the east. I think it's just jockeying for position between Russia and Austria, with Turkey really coming out here again and taking advantage. We're about to go up again this turn, taking Bulgaria, getting into the Ionian Sea. So, good job for Turkey. If it just shows if you can hang on it's very hard to get knocked out of this game. And Turkey is certainly an essential part of this game if they're going to manage to stop France from getting a huge board top or even potentially 18.
France has just given up on that.
France takes their foot off the gas, which I frankly strongly disagree with here. I think your path is through the north here, and you're leaving a lot on the table by doing that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to give up Holland at this point, even if you stop there.
Why not support yourself to Holland, convoy to Belgium, support Rohr, or support, make an attack on Munich. I mean, you still have potential. You can still get fleets around in the north if you get your build. You can go up to Norwegian. You can go up to North Sea. There's a lot of play here. This is not anywhere close to being locked.
This is a painful mistake, I have to be honest. Remember, Germany is sitting on a build here.
It's and let's also credit what it was presumably very strong diplomatic work by Germany to allow that to happen. So let's put some credit there as well.
Absolutely. All right, Chris.
Gosh, this is a much more stationary turn. So what is France doing? Come on, France, get your act together. Now you push the army forward into Ruhr again. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. At least they pick up Venice. That's good. And they also pick up Naples, right? Because they had to retreat there. And they're in the Ionian. So the position in Italy is looking really good for France now. They're picking up basically 2 of the 3 Italian dots now, and the third one's there for the taking. Right. And Austria is not having a good time. Loses another dot to Russia.
Although at this point in the game, maybe they're just grateful.
Yeah. But this was like 3 hours ago.
Yes. So we've got a French fleet in Brest and Marseille. We've got a German army in Kiel, another fleet in Smyrna for Turkey, and a couple of disbands from Italy and Austria. Brandon, why don't you run us through spring of 1910, and I'm going to step away for a moment, and I'll be right back.
All right. I have the ability to forward the turn here. Okay. We see in the east Russia advancing and continuing a somewhat surprising comeback, and an impressive one, potentially very impressive, in fact. So we have an RT sort of in full motion now. E and G are, I'm sorry, France and Germany appear to be fighting a somewhat cold war. It's certainly not very hot, although that fleet in Brest could swing up and around and really change the calculus there. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with that. Otherwise, in the south, we've got what looks like a stalemate in the Ionian, which France is happy for, and we've got the 4th fleet in Con that could come around. Not a whole lot happens here, but we see Russia advancing and stalemate elsewhere. And then the question again becomes, what changes, what breaks here that causes this game to keep going? It does not look like France is really positioning, maybe the fact that the slow assault on the north is what ends up dragging this game out. I don't know. Let's see. But Germany is in, no, Germany doesn't really have an avenue here for growth. So it's really all about France. Okay. That was a little bit circuitous. Any quick comments before we move on to the fall?
I know Russia's been making these steady gains each turn, right? They've been picking up one more each turn, and they could walk into St. Petersburg in the fall here, as well as picking up Vienna.
But can Russia catch France without essentially throwing a solo, right?
The difficulty is ultimately you're both playing for those German dots.
The German dots, yeah.
If you take your one on your side, do they get 2 on the other side? So yeah.
No.
not easy to do.
Okay, we're ready to go, Brian.
All right. So is it Adam's turn now?
Yeah, and I'll be right back.
All right, Adam.
Yeah, so as Brandon pointed out, that fleet Mao is going up to North Atlantic, and so once it wings its way around, it could help break things in the north. We'll see. So the French fleet in Lyon is moving down probably to try to get into Tunis to get that extra support onto the Ionian now that Turkey has the extra fleet. Turkey made a mistake here. Should have slid up to Albania to slide the fleets and get the fourth fleet out. Now France has the time to get that last fleet down into Tunis and protect the Ionian. This was a missed opportunity and is going to be costly actually for the Turks. So that's something they missed here, and I think is going to hurt them. Turkey does go to Romania, which you have to figure was probably arranged because there's really no play for Turkey to make a real stab on Russia here. So this must be arranged. It's either trading a dot it's probably trading the dot. So instead of Russia building it, the Turkey gets to build it, which makes some sense. In the north, I think it's still just some positioning work by Germany. I guess getting the fleet into Skag to cover that, making sure that France doesn't slide in, moving the army down to Denmark, really just positioning the units so that he's as well defended as possible. Of course, there's going to be this continuous guess. You can't go to St. Petersburg and leave Norway open for forever. So at some point, he's going to have to just put some trust into Russia, I guess, and leave it in Norway.
Yeah, I mean, he was lucky he got away with that.
Yep.
He lost Norway there.
Well, France has been playing very conservative the past few turns, right? And so I think it was a reasonable, calculated decision to do that.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, and I think France is doing a really good job of just slowly and surely, like it's like a python, just slowly squeezing on the German position.
It's a little bit too slow, though. I mean,
well, you pulled back, you missed that earlier opportunity, right? And so you kind of compromised your position and your ability to make faster progress.
I mean, even here, you could have moved north to Norwegian, English to north, and Mao to English, right? Yeah. And yes, there's a small risk that Germany ends up in North Sea, but is it really likely?
Yeah. All right. So for builds, looks like we've got a army in Smyrna and an army in Sev. Austria disbands fleet in Adriatic, and I believe that's everything.
I'll just comment on when I see the Turkish army in Smyrna, I guess Russia got a build anyway and built in Sev. See, this is really not putting units close to where you want them. That army you really wanted in Warsaw, right? And if anything, I mean, it's fine to give Turkey a build just because, as an alliance play. But, you guys are building in a position which is not very close to where those units are ultimately going to be needed, which is, in this sort of middle land near the line.
That just makes me question if that was, in fact, an alliance play.
So certainly, if it was a dotting play, then it would be very understandable that Russia would build in Sev.
Yeah, that's true.
Brandon, spring of 1911.
Well,
oh, Brandon back. Brandon, you're on mute.
All right, here we go. So shocker, France allows the Ionian to be retaken by the Turks. I suppose he thinks that it was dispensable because he has the reinforcement coming in from western to Tunis, and he can retake it. The retreat to Albania is interesting. You might have thought that retreat to Adriatic would work better here. Other than that, Russia and Turkey are fighting, and that is, if anything, is going to lead to a French solo. These two need to have put their differences aside. Turkey needed to have gotten the fourth fleet onto the Ionian already by shifting up to Albania. And like Adam was saying, Russia needs to have those armies on the stalemate line. 2 years ago. In the West, we have France taking Holland, which I assume required some guessing on Germany's part. So can you show me the supports here? So Kiel supports Holland to Ruhr, and Holland goes to Ruhr. So Burgundy support. Okay, so close the support. So Munich, for some reason, supports Vienna to Tyrolia here instead of supporting Holland to Ruhr, which would have popped that Ruhr army and would have changed the tactical calculus there somewhat significantly. No, it wouldn't. I'm sorry. It would have been able to retreat to Belgium. Still would have been better for Germany. But look, this is now just a slow. It's now just a slow sort of water torture here, as France is now in position to solo, and it's now just a matter of time.
What did the Tyrrhenian Sea do?
Looks like it tried to convoy. Yeah, can you show us that order?
Were they convoying Rome to Albania? Tyrrhenian Sea and the Ionian kind of convoy. Strange thing to do.
Yeah. That's one of those silly moves that looks interesting at the time, and then you don't realize, oh dear, now I've lost Ionian as a result of it.
It would have been cool looking if it had worked, though.
Well, but the thing is that Italy is now trying to work against France. That's the moral of that story.
Yep. All right, Adam, take us through fall of 1911.
Yeah, so France does not retake the Ionian because they elect to support Trieste instead of the extra move there. So really no movement with respect to France and Germany. But Germany does lose Holland and will have to disband, which is going to cause some problems up there.
No, he had the unit piffed already, so he doesn't have to pull another one.
It was piffed. Okay. I stand corrected. So, but this is still going to be a more difficult position for Germany, especially with the assumption that there's going to be another, I guess, fleet build. I mean, you kind of are going to need an army too at some point, but probably a fleet first. And then we have Russia moving up to Silesia, finally where it needs to be. Yep.
All right. So,
but we're in agreement. Sorry, we're in agreement. This is a Russian solo. Sorry, Chris, you go ahead.
I wonder if Sevastopol was arranged. The East seems to have figured out that they need to actually work together at this point.
Seeming more like it.
So I'm guessing that put the fleet in Sevastopol, and then I don't have to worry about it anymore. We trade those dots, Romania and Sevastopol, right?
Yeah, I mean the units are wasted behind the lines, but this is a French solo, right? Like, I mean, France is at 13 now. Rome is 14. Norway, Sweden, St. Petersburg will all fall, as will Denmark. Eventually,
Kiel goes. Yeah.
I don't see how it doesn't end that way.
Yeah, it should be a 19 for France, right? Something like that.
France needs another fleet in the north to feel more secure about that, right? But doesn't have it.
I think they have a build, don't they?
Yeah, I think you got to get one more fleet up there.
But they had a build here. They put down Army Marseille.
Oh,
which is probably to take Rome without losing Venice is the idea there. Yeah.
Let's find out. Chris, I think it's your turn.
So yeah, it looks like that's where that army is headed. It gets into Ionian. How did they manage that?
Tapped Greece.
Tapped Greece. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I like that. That's well played.
Yep.
The Turkish fleet is heading back into the Black Sea. Yeah, so this looks like the East has definitely figured out what they need to do now. The Turkish fleet needs to head down into the Mediterranean, but they've still got all these armies hanging around Romania that they really need up in Prussia and Galicia, right?
Yes. Livonia, Prussia, Galicia. I mean,
Yeah.
we're not, we don't need Budapest. We don't need Romania. We don't need Bulgaria.
Yeah.
We don't need, maybe we need Serbia.
Yeah.
But they need it's Naples they need to retake. Naples and Venice. Retake Naples and Venice and hold on to Munich and you've stopped the Solo. But because they can't, holding on to Berlin would be nice too. But
then the first thing you got to do is take Trieste, right? And you do that by cutting Vienna to Tyrolia and Budapest to Trieste. Serbia supports that. Greece taps Albania, right? And that's how you do it.
Well, do they want to take Trieste? Trieste has been sitting there, and both sides have been supporting it, right?
Okay, if Trieste is helping them, then they don't want to do that. Yeah.
You need Trieste to help, but they should have been working to retake those Italian centers a while ago.
I mean, Brandon's right. If you want to stop the Solo, because the north can be ground out.
Yeah.
The alternative would have been to give St. Pete back to Russia in order to allow to generate fleets in the north. That would have also changed it.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to build a fleet up there.
Well, now it's impossible.
Particularly as France has done the right thing and sent that fleet right up to Barents, which is where it needs to be, mostly for that reason, actually.
Yeah, so it's my turn, yeah? So he finally took the chance and risked north in order to get the fleets in better position, and kind of astonishingly just took a second turn in a row and got burned this time. It's not. I'd have to look at the tactics more carefully, but there had to be a better solution than this, because he needs another fleet up there. So I think he probably could have just waited in that alignment until he got the other fleet up there, or maybe take a chance in the. This is the fall. I'm sorry. So is he picking up a dot anywhere? He's not.
No. I mean, yeah, Barents could have guessed between St. Petersburg. Yeah, it was stuff he could have done.
So show the supports here. I'm confused now what he did. Oh, he tried to convoy up to Norway. Yeah. Oh, completely unnecessary. Oh, wow. Oh, that was a totally unnecessary convoy. Tap Skagerrak and take Norway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Well, it's also rough because, number one, you're putting Holland at risk. I mean, it's unlikely that Germany is going to go for Holland, but there's no reason to put Holland at risk like that. Yeah. Number two, actually, what's even more important than that is you've only got two armies on that side of the line, and you're convoying into Scandinavia.
You don't need the army up there. You need the army where it is.
Yeah.
We talk on this broadcast a lot about the power of convoys, but about not getting advanced position without having to move the fleet out of the way. But this is one of those cases where that is absolutely not what you want to do. He needs those armies right where they are.
Yeah, and you can't take this risk without guaranteeing a dot.
Yeah.
You have to force Germany to take a disband if you're going to risk north, and you probably just shouldn't risk north anyway.
Wow.
Okay, but this is why it's taking so long, because he still has the Solo. He just now needs to protect the English centers, get Rome and build a fleet, and it's just gonna be a little bit of torture. Yep. He has to protect English Channel now too. Ooh, okay.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. So we've got army in Warsaw. So we are building on the line and or closer to the line, and that's it. So, Adam.
Oh my God.
Fascinating, huh?
Oh, this is painful.
Wow.
Well. Okay, so there goes one of the. Is that the French?
French army in Holland is disbanded.
This is a great set of orders by Germany, and there really was not a whole lot that France could have done about this. Because the only way to stop that convoy is to dislodge the North Sea Fleet. And if you dislodge the North Sea Fleet, then it's going to retreat into Edinburgh, which you can't do anything about. So you know,
Edinburgh or the Channel or all sorts of lovely places.
All sorts of places where you don't want it. So, so really well done by Hunter for realizing that he could get away with this. You know, cutting Roar gets cut, so the attack on Holland is guaranteed. The attack on Belgium may not go, but you know, was France likely to see that coming? Maybe not, and so you know, really good play there. And this is really a big damper for France's chances at winning this game.
It's totally. The solo is now done.
I think that's right, and also, you know, though it opens a lot of other avenues, right? Because now we see Russia has retaken St. Petersburg. Yeah. There may be opportunities for other shenanigans on this board, and let's see where that goes.
I mean, can I just Germany say ends up down? Well, if nothing changes now, Germany ends up down, right? Because they've lost Norway and St. Petersburg, and they picked up Holland. But why didn't that French unit retreat to Belgium?
No, the convoy Norway was to Belgium. There was no retreat available to France.
Oh, Germany, I see. Okay, now I was misreading that. Okay, so the convoy Norway to Belgium.
Germany's even because they picked up both of the low countries.
-2. Yeah. That's very well played by Hunter.
No, it's fantastic. And
fantastic moves.
Can I just say I am so happy that this game is turning not into a slog to like the last dot of a solo, but to something much more dynamic here. And John Jamieson is
great
in the best position. Yeah.
He's I don't know about best position, but I think he's certainly up and coming and starting to look a lot better than he was for a long time in this game.
Because France
pulls.
Does France
probably only pulls one, right?
I don't think France pulls. He's going to get Rome and he's going to get Norway. So I think he's going to be even unless he guesses wrong on Eddie London.
And he's got to
rebuild.
And he's got to rebuild. But Norway could fall if John and Hunter collaborate.
Yeah, Sweden's open though.
Right. Good point.
Yep. I don't care if I get dislodged from Norway.
All right.
I kind of like. Oh, John. Yes.
Wow.
Nice. Wow.
Nice. Norway went to Skagerrak.
Norway went to Skagerrak.
What?
Why would you do that? Why do you do that? Huh?
So France picks up 2, loses 2. So he's still even and has.
Wait. France got Trieste. How did France get Trieste? Had 2 supports, but it looks like Russia has like 3 supports there. So how did
Turkey supported him?
Turkey supported the French.
Show that to us.
Yeah.
That had to be what it was.
What?
Yeah, because it goes with the Constantinople to Black Sea.
Yeah.
And the army up into Bulgaria, right?
Yeah,
so and it should got his eyes on Russian dots again.
And it should be noted that Vienna moved to Tyrolia here rather than supporting Trieste, which would have held it. That was a tactical error.
Ben Smith clearly does not feel like there is a French solo threat anymore.
Okay. That's a very good read of this move. Yeah.
So Ben would be in better position here if he had gotten a build somewhere, but he doesn't.
Right.
So he's got.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that Russia has 2 builds now.
Just one,
one
right?
build.
Yeah.
One build.
One, but pretty good position. Sort of. God, this is a blender.
All right. So for our builds, we've got Russia building an army in Moscow, France building a fleet in Brest, and an army in Marseille. That's the only change. Anything stand out to anyone?
Yeah, the fact that France has, let's see, like 5 units all within an inch of each other on the map around the Adriatic. That's probably his biggest problem is just his positional alignment. But he's still at 13. And this is going to be a fascinating. I mean, I'm sure he would rather have some armies back in the home territories.
But it's not a terrible position as France, even. Because you can pull one fleet back, you can pull an army back out of Italy. It just takes a while to get where you need it.
Yeah.
The question is whether it takes too long to get there, right?
All right. So, Chris, I think it's your turn. If not, please go ahead.
That army's not coming back. Okay, so west to Mao makes sense to me. And yeah, you realize you can't hold Burgundy. I would probably have waited and retreated Burgundy, but whatever, that's fine. Yeah, not sure about Marseille to Gascony. I guess that's worrying about Brest, maybe. I don't know why you moved Marseille to Gascony.
Yeah, I don't either.
Skagerrak to North Sea. That's smart. That's going to help.
You wouldn't rather pull Eddie into the north and get some purchase over Denmark?
Yeah, I'm not sure why Edinburgh goes to Clyde. I mean, you want to be in the North Sea, so the support to North makes a lot of sense.
Covering Liverpool in case English Channel. Irish. Yeah.
That feels like I wouldn't have worried about that. I'd rather have that fleet in Skagerrak. I think if that fleet ends up in Liverpool, that's great. There's a lot worse places it could be, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to not worry about the odd dots in the back there. And then Turkey, Russia fighting, but Russia seems to be more worried about the French in Trieste.
Oh, and Turkey picks up Naples. That's big.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, but he can't hold it.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of very little in the south, really. I mean, Moscow comes down to Ukraine, not Sevastopol, which is
curious, isn't it?
And unfortunately, John commits like 3 units to trying to take Trieste and fails.
I'm wondering why are we going black to rum? If we want to do this, why don't we do this convoy Connor?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's do this for real.
I mean, he's supporting Bulgaria, which wasn't. There weren't 2 units next to Bulgaria, right? Yeah.
Wonder if
missed
there's
opportunities to convoy Constantinople. I mean, even if you convoy Constantinople to Romania.
Yeah, exactly.
But I wonder if there's some negotiation. Sorry.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're trying to work something out here, and this is part of the deal, is giving up Romania.
Yeah, it's possible.
In exchange for Trieste, maybe.
All right. Well, Brandon, why don't you take us through fall of 1914?
Yeah, and there we have it. Oh, but John does it in a way that he loses Vienna to Bohemia. So John finally takes Trieste back. A bit of a white whale there for a while. But again, he loses Vienna to the Germans. And now suddenly it's a little bit of a free-for-all, even though France is still on 13.
Tyrolia could have been the mover there, right?
Yes. Or Serbia or Budapest. I don't know. Tap Vienna from Tyrolia, and then if you're confident that Turkey is going to be tapping Adriatic, then I would tap Venice and probably move Budapest.
All right.
No, go back. There's more stuff to talk about there. Oh, they finished. Cool. Okay, so in the West, though, English Channel takes London. So somehow, even though France has fleets in London and north, he manages to lose London to the Germans, who also take north.
This is just
he moved London to Wales, right? He's so worried about Liverpool that he's lost London as a result of it.
Oh boy. So France goes down 2 here, and Germany goes up 2.
Yeah.
And has north. Wow. Okay. Now we can go forward.
Great tap dancing by Hunter to turn that position around. I did not like his position a couple turns ago. All right, so we've got France disbanding in Wales and Mid-Atlantic.
Wow.
John disbanding in Finland. Turkey's building army in Khan. and Hunter in Germany builds fleet in Kiel and army in Munich.
And army in Berlin, right? Or is that already there? No, he just built the two. Okay.
Wow.
So I heard a lot of books. Talk to me.
It's Hunter's game to lose now, all of a sudden.
All right. Adam, take us through spring of 1915.
Wow, some interesting choices. So Hunter convoys out of Belgium into Norway. Something, powerful diplomatic is going on here. I gather that he's convinced France that, hey, show me some love and I'll show you some love, and we'll see where this goes. Burgundy holds. It's kind of interesting. I'm going to keep my foot on your neck, but I'm not going to pull the trigger. Vienna is not attacked by anybody. It just sits there. It doesn't help anybody. It just sits there. Really, some pretty careful play right here. I think there's, for a 4-power game, there is a lot of diplomacy going on, a lot of negotiation that's leading to this. Right. I guess I didn't talk about the East, but Russia and Turkey are fighting again.
back at it again. All right, Chris, what's going on in 1915 fall?
Well, Russia and Turkey are fighting again. It looks like Russia's got ahead here, because Russia's ending up taking Greece and taking Romania and losing Sevastopol. So that's not losing, but not taking Sevastopol. So that's 2 up for Russia against Turkey.
Loses Trieste, so he's only 1 up, but still. And Norway, so he's even.
Right. And yeah, those German units are definitely heading against Russia. This has been the theme of this game, really. And some kind of complicated bounce in the North Sea, and France does a whole lot of nothing, basically.
Yeah, wasted units.
Yeah.
Do they pick up Trieste, though? They do pick up Trieste.
They pick up Trieste. And they managed to keep Marseille open for building. That unit in Burgundy actually hurt them, because they felt that they had to cover both Marseille and Paris against the German army in Burgundy.
All right. So for our builds, you've got an army in Marseille and an army in Kiel. Turkey disbands in Apulia. Any comments about any of those? Seem like the right builds to me.
I mean, the question for me for Hunter is how do you top this board? And you don't do it without taking Edinburgh. You're going to get St. Pete and Warsaw, and maybe we're headed for another split board top. I mean, maybe that's just what it is.
After all that,
yeah.
Yeah. I sure hope not, but we'll find out. Brandon, take us through 1916.
All right, we've got a triple bounce in North, as Hunter has decided he's not going to take any dots off of France, but he does take 2 off of Russia, who continues the fight against Turkey, taking Sevastopol but losing Greece, which is piffed. Otherwise, we just have France rearranging units in an effort to tell Germany that he's not getting any of his dots. But Edinburgh is the one that Germany could have gone for and is opting not to. But this will put them even, unless France can finagle another one of the dots in the east.
I wonder if Germany can pick up Moscow as well.
Yeah, it's
one thing that's worth commenting on, perhaps, is games that go this long are really tiring, emotionally draining, and it becomes easier to make mistakes, easier to make misorders, easier to make not just tactical mistakes but strategic mistakes, and not stop reading the board as well as you were doing earlier on. This is such a slog. I mean, it's pushing on 3 a.m. Or perhaps even later for some of these folks, and they've been playing this game for 9 hours, 10 hours, something like that. And so we shouldn't shouldn't understate the emotional drainage that goes into getting to positions like this, and what's involved in dealing with it. And I think somebody like Hunter, certainly, who has played in a lot of tournaments and probably played some games like this before, may have some advantage over those that are less used to it.
Yeah, and I know personally when I've been in a situation like Richard and had a shot and then felt like I was going to lose it, I tend to start to want to play more conservatively, and I think that may be a little of what we're seeing here.
Yeah, I think tilt in this game is definitely a real thing.
Yeah. All right, Adam, I think it's your turn.
Oh man.
Sure.
Shit.
Well, it looks like France again doesn't do a whole lot. A lot of holds, a couple supports. Again, I think that this is getting to the point where there might be some kind of feeling of inevitability about a specific result, and tiredness, and just trying to get to some result, whatever that is, and that's probably either a tied board top or a Hunter Germany board top.
Hunter's taking the lead here. He took Moscow.
Yeah, he's taking 2. Is that going to put him at the lead? Because France is
taking
12.
3. Taking 3 from Russia.
He's taking St. Petersburg, Moscow, and Warsaw. So that might be enough to satisfy him for a result on this game. With Russia and Turkey still fighting, France not doing anything. I mean, this is potentially Hunter's board to grind out if he really wanted to, even. But there just may not be a desire to do that at this stage.
I would take the board top here if I were him. That's 50 points.
All right, so we've got building a fleet in Kiel, an army in Berlin. We've got Russia disbanding in Livonia, Budapest. We've got Turkey building a fleet in Cannes. How do we feel about the German builds?
Great.
That says to me that he's playing for the solo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I need more fleets than France if I'm going to take the French dots, right?
Yeah, either the solo or telling the board, hey, you'd better take a draw or I'm going to solo.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's the negotiation side of it as well. You're absolutely right.
All right. I think, Chris, it's your turn. Spring 1917.
Oh, wow.
Russia, Turkey still fighting.
Oh, my God.
And Russia, Turkey helping France into Budapest. That's an interesting move. But it looks like this is the end of Russia here. I mean, I don't see how you come back from that position.
Do you think that the putting France in Budapest is just kind of sending an oh yeah to Germany, but maybe I'm going to let the two of them, I'm going to force this into a tied top unless you want to keep dragging this on. Of course, you're kind of asking for it if that's the case.
I mean, that's definitely possible. It could also just be that they want to get rid of Germany as quickly of Russia at this point, and it doesn't matter who takes that dot. We just want it not to be Russian anymore. John can have that effect on people in longer games sometimes.
I think it ends the solo bid. Yeah. I don't think Germany can't solo from here.
Giving France a build is a big thing at this point for sure.
Well, why does Germany give up the North Sea here? Is this a mistake here that Holland just didn't get ordered there?
Yep.
Yeah, that's actually a kind of a costly mistake too, right? Because
that's a very costly mistake.
Yeah.
All right, I think this might be the last turn. Brandon, why don't you take us home?
Yeah, this looks like they agreed that it was going to be over here. We've eliminated Russia. We all benefit from that. Although I think, they're all going to benefit from that a little bit. The smaller powers a bit more. And Hunter's accepted that he doesn't have a solo shot. And although he's gone for Burgundy here, which actually forces a bit of a choice on France as to what to build. But there's still... I still think they've got more or less a line set up.
Does this split the board top?
It does. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So let's see the final scores here.
All right.
So that's that. Hold on a second. There's this. We might have a crash here. I might have to reboot. Yeah.
Because splitting the board top cost Hunter a lot of points all of a sudden, doesn't it?
I think it does. Yeah. I think it's going to drop him from 50 down to
30 something.
Yeah. So he's at 50.5 right now. 38. So not a major thing, but
it's pretty significant.
Let's hand it to. I mean, I think that a lot of credit needs to go to all three of these players who made it to the end here. I think Hunter was in a lot of trouble in a lot of the mid game, and really, I think some great diplomacy, some great tactics throughout the middle of the game really put him in this strong position. France, he went for it. I give so much credit to that, and he went for it. It didn't go, but you got to give somebody credit for taking a shot. Ended up with a shared board top. So what was the penalty for going for it, right? You ended up with a great result anyway. A lot of credit there. Turkey down to 2 centers. Getting a great score. I mean, what can you say? What can you say? The point is fight it out till the end, right? Fight it out till the last dot is clawed from your dead hands, because this can happen, and you end up with a great result. So a lot of credit to all three players.
He scored higher than some board toppers did tonight, right?
Yeah.
There
was a split board top where they all scored 20.
Yeah, that's right.
And I also think he contributed to the forcing the end of this game. I think that support of France getting that bill
definitely
was a big. He was very meaningful in this game.
And well done to John Jamieson as well for it was a real roller coaster of a ride, and he he looked dead in the water at one point, and he came back and had a real shot for a big score. It didn't work out, but that was a fun game, and showed a lot of good tap dancing skills.
So John could be a candidate for both the Icarus and Lazarus Award.
Is the Lazarus, does it depend on where you finish or just where you get to?
I think it's finish, but
it's gotta be where you finish, yeah.
So
this was an entertaining game. This was really fun.
It was. Is everybody satisfied with this result, or is there more play to be had?
What do you guys think?
I think the moment where France took his foot off the gas at one point, and before kind of losing some position in the north, there was a moment where France pulled some units back, and then it re-advanced them a few turns later. And I think that was really the turning point in the game. That caused some trouble, but this is very difficult, and we don't know entirely what went into this happening. I think it might have been even later than this, but it was this turn. Yeah.
This is it. Yeah,
it was this turn. But a lot goes into this, and it's hard to sitting on this side. It's hard to get too critical of that. But I think that this is probably going to something that you got to look back at and say, what might have been had the foot stayed on the gas here. Nonetheless, I think the 13-13 split made a lot of sense given where the board was at and given the time and everyone's likely exhaustion and difficulty in continuing from that point.
I was having a hard time keeping up with the game, just watching other people's moves. So trying to plan them out.
I think France should have soloed this board. I think France did a lot of great things to put himself in position for that. And even after this miscue here, still was in position to solo again. So great kudos to him on that. But I think he should have. This should be a learning experience. He should look at this and examine what caused him to not follow through. To not put the final hammer on that nail. Did a great job of not tilting after that. Right. Like, so Brian, I think you talked about this, like that it's hard to come back when you're so close to the really big bite of the apple and you fall short, and you did a great job of not collapsing. So
yeah, congrats to Richard and congrats to Hunter on the shared board top for this game.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's the last game of the night. I know it's extremely late, so I think it's a good idea for us to start wrapping this up. We'll start with Chris, Adam, and Randy. Thank you all for joining as analysts. Brandon, thanks for helping as a host tonight. I had a fantastic time. A lot of really, really fun games. Chris, any highlights of the night for you?
Oh gosh, I like the recoveries. We saw a number of powers come back from two centres and still have play in the game. I love that. It can be very disheartening when you're playing a game of diplomacy and everyone's ganging up on you and you start losing centres. You're down to that too. A lot of people, it's very tempting to just give up at that point. Just walk out of your home centre and say, okay, I'm done. But we saw more than one person come back. I mean, the Turkey in this one was the best example, probably, ending up one of the three powers who survived, having been down at two centres at one point. I love that kind of thing. I think there's almost something more spectacular about recovering from those really low points than if you just have a game where you just keep growing all the time.
Yeah. Adam, how about you?
Yeah, a lot of great dynamic play on a lot of boards. I think the England-Italy head-to-head board fighting for a top, that game really stood out for me. It's really awesome to see some dynamic play that leads to that, and see, not only how the two players that are in that struggle fight for it, but how the players around them react to that and try to stay in the game and maintain a score for themselves. And if I recall, that there was quite a bit of that going on the other side of the board. And somebody who was fairly small ended up with a pretty solid score. I think it was France in that game ended up with a pretty solid score because they were, made themselves essential to that game. So, just really exciting dynamics in that one and many of the other ones. So a lot of fun.
Brandon.
This is really interesting. This is the first time we've seen Tribute played with in a tournament setting, and there's by a lot of people who had never played it before. So there was some surprising activity. There were several games where there were large split board tops of 3 or 4 people, which is not what we would have expected with this. But on the other hand, like Adam just pointed out, the survivals are worth something in Tribute. I've seen some people criticize Tribute for saying that survival is worthless compared to the board top, and games like tonight just simply disprove that. We'll have to crunch the numbers, but I think the average survival has got to be around 15 or higher. So it's really interesting to see, this system we came up with for a variety of different reasons. There's a lot of mathematical analysis. We had a lot of ideas about what incentives we wanted to promote. And it's fascinating to see it in action and for it to work a little bit differently than we expected. So I'll be interested to see if that's a consequence of people still learning how to play the system, or that the system just has a different effect than we might have anticipated.
Yeah.
So.
I definitely was surprised by the number of split board tops for sure. And I'm really curious to see what impact that has going into next week. We're going to see a lot of lower scores than I was expecting. I really thought we were going to have a lot of 50, 60 plus scores. And we didn't see a lot of that over tonight. So that's going to be meaningful in 2 ways, I think. One, it's a wide open game for next round. We've got several players that we're anticipating more players in round 2 than we had in round 1. And a great score, a solo or a high board top could conceivably put that person who only plays one game into the mix, especially if they're just trying to make it into the top 7 for next week.
Easily. 50 points could get you on the top board. Yeah.
And I think with as close as it is, those survival scores may be the difference. Who survived and who survived with that 1 extra center, 2 extra centers, that could be the difference for making into the top 7. So it's going to be really, really exciting next round.
Brian, thank you very much. This was your longest workload tonight, and you did a great job. Thank you for that.
I think this one is longer than all of my other ones combined. So, all right. Well, I think it's time for us to sign off. Thanks again to everyone. I'd like to give a shout out to Christian Klein for acting as tournament director, to Corey Nesland and Dave Miletsky for being a GM, and to all the other folks who worked behind the scenes to help make this this broadcast a success and the tournament a success. And I for one, cannot wait for next week. Have a great night, everybody.